Well, you guys certainly have chosen your year for doing the HSC, haven't you? 2020 is definitely going to be one for the record books. And even though you might be back at school soon enough, you've had a long stretch now of being out of your usual school environment and you've had to adjust to many changes. You've been learning online from home, the way assessments have been conducted has been really different, and your group major works might have even been cancelled. These challenges might mean that some of you are feeling super stressed out right now and freaking out about whether you're going to be disadvantaged this year. For others of you, I know that you're on the completely opposite end of the spectrum. You're a little bit too relaxed now that there aren't any classes on or teachers to answer to. Yes, those of you watching from bed in your PJs right now, I'm talking to you. Now, whether you fit one of these two categories or are somewhere in the middle right now, I'm going to be sharing 5 tips with you that will let you blitz the HSC this year despite the disruptions of COVID-19. So, number 1, get into a good headspace. We really do live our lives in our heads, and our thoughts often become self-fulfilling prophecies because they impact not only our feelings, but our behaviours and actions, and therefore the results that we achieve. A really good way to manage our thoughts and stop this vicious cycle is through being aware of what we call our self-talk and altering it to be more helpful. So, for example, unhelpful thought, I'm going to fail the HSC. Helpful thought, this year's been a different one, but all the students in Australia are in the same boat and I'm just going to study hard and try my best. Unhelpful thought, now that my group major work's been cancelled, I just know my marks will be disadvantaged. Helpful thought, it sucks that my project's been cancelled, but Ness is making sure everything is fair for us. If I focus and ask for help with other parts of this subject, it's likely that I will do well. In trying to find a replacement thought, ask yourself questions like, what is the evidence for this unhelpful thought? What are the disadvantages of thinking this way? And what would I say to a friend who was having this thought? In terms of getting into a good headspace, it's also really important that our thinking and self-talk is motivational rather than critical. Being hard on ourselves really doesn't do us any favours. Self-criticism demotivates us. So the more you criticise yourself, the less motivated you feel. And on the flip side, the kinder you are to yourself, the more motivated or encouraged you'll be. And remember to keep things in perspective as well. There's a lot of hype around the HSC, but it's not the only route to success. Some of the most successful people in our world never even finished high school. The HSC is also not the sum of your life or your worth as a person. It's actually only number 27 on the list of life's most stressful life events. So, if you can't change something, change the way you think about it. You can't change the fact that all this COVID stuff has happened this year, but by changing your thoughts and getting in the right headspace, you can drastically alter the outcome. Okay, number 2, get in the performance zone. Research suggests that people perform at their peak when they experience a moderate amount of stress. So this is a healthy level of stress which allows for motivation but not pressure and results in creativity, rational problem solving, concentration and peak performance. So being under this kind of stress puts you in the performance zone or the rockin' it zone. This is where you want to be for the rest of the year. Now, if you're not living here, you're living in or on your way to one of 2 other places, the MET zone or the crash and burn zone. And you can actually fluctuate from day to day or month to month between the 2. So, if you are in the MET zone, you are understimulated and not stressed at all. You're probably pretty motivated in general, you see no reason to work hard, and you probably feel bored, tired, and frustrated by studying. It's kind of like if you're lying on a beach, would you feel like doing some work or having a snooze? Okay, now if you're in the crash and burn zone, you're at the complete opposite end of the spectrum. You're overstimulated or highly stressed. You start to feel too much pressure and you become exhausted, panicked, and run down. And in this zone, you might also find you get physical symptoms too, like headaches, shaking, or even an upset stomach. So, which zone are you in right now? Okay, so how can you keep yourself in the rockin' it zone? If you're finding you're getting stuck in the crash and burn zone, you can try a few things. Firstly, breathing. Now, it sounds too simple to work, right? But just give it a try. Deep breathing reverses really quickly the symptoms of crashing and burning and the fight and flight system which drives these symptoms. So you can kind of start feeling relaxed again and like yourself. One really simple exercise you can try is called the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, and out for 8 seconds. Now you might want to set a timer for 10 minutes on your phone and just do this over and over again, and you'll quickly feel that kind of sense of relaxation. Another idea is to practice mindfulness. Now this is something that just teaches us how to shift our attention back to the here and now rather than worrying about the future or going over and over negative things from our past. Now, Smiling Mind is an app that you can download onto your phone and it will send you mindfulness exercises every day to try. Other ideas are to take time out for family and friends and fun. The HSC doesn't need to take over your whole life. And importantly, if you find yourself stuck in the crash and burn zone too often, it's really important that you reach out to your family or friends, a teacher or a school counsellor, because they can help you and they can change things before we get to the pointy end of exams. Okay, now, if you are on the opposite end of the spectrum and you find yourself getting trapped in the met zone, try something to wake you up. So this could be a cold shower, doing 100 burpees or jumping jacks, clapping as fast as you can. It also helps to mix things up to kind of keep your brain awake, to keep you on your toes, make things unpredictable and varied, and stop boredom setting in by changing things up. Now, managing procrastination is really important to getting out and staying out of this zone. The trick to beating procrastination is to do something now and make a small start despite everything within you screaming that you want to do something much more fun. Heaps of people believe that you need to feel motivated before you can do something. But this is actually a myth, and some of us could actually wait forever before we felt motivated. The truth is that feelings will follow action, not the other way around. So doing something, no matter how unmotivated you actually feel, leads to more motivation and further action. And it kind of creates a kind of upward spiral towards success and achievement. Okay, number 3, stay connected to your learning community. When it comes to learning, staying in contact with other students to bounce around assessment ideas, to share study notes and study in groups is really crucial, and some of the best students swear by this. If you haven't already, it can be a really good idea to set up or go online and find an online study group that you can join so you can discuss what you're studying, demo ideas, quiz each other, teach each other, and get ideas for what kind of general study strategies are helping each other to get along. Keeping in contact with your teachers is really important as well, and the most successful students see their teachers as a really key resource. The only question that's dumb is the question that was never asked. So ask your teacher for feedback on previous assessments and what you need to focus on, or perhaps to give you examples of answers that got good marks so you know what you need to aim for. They might also be able to give you practice exams and mark them so you know where you stand and give you some experience with those papers. Tip number 4, keep healthy habits. Now, we have around 100 billion brain cells, and that's more than stars in the sky. So if your brain is well fed and watered and rested, it will actually generate around 25 watts of electricity, which is enough to power a small light globe. The first healthy habit, and I can't overstate how important this is sleep. And now this is one that's probably slipping off the table a little bit because we've got nothing to get up for in the morning sometimes. We should be aiming for 9 hours of sleep of a night during the HSC year and trying to get to bed around 10 p.m. at the latest. You should try to have roughly the same going to bed time and wake up time every single day, and really watch lights and screen time as you get later into the night. This completely messes with your melatonin production, which is essential to be able to have a good night's sleep. In the hour before bed, you shouldn't be doing any work. Your brain needs time to wind down so that you're able to sleep, and it also needs time to consolidate what you learned for that day so it can retain information and spit it out when it needs to. Regular healthy meals and water is also really important. You need to feed your brain to work at its best. breakfast is really important. Eating carbs is really important, as well as feeding yourself superfoods. Now, superfoods are foods like oats, eggs, yogurt, fish oil, avocado, walnuts, blueberries, generally high in protein foods. And now these foods contain things like tyrosine, which is an amino acid which gets depleted under stress and is responsible for actually synthesizing the protein needed for brain function. Of course, avoid too much sugar and junk food. You don't want to get that horrible sugar crash. In terms of water, our mind, our brain is actually made up of 80% water, and sipping water regularly while you're studying as well as in the exam, so around every 20 minutes just having a small sip of water, actually improves your concentration and brain function. You don't want to drink too much that you're running off to the toilet because that's completely counterproductive. In terms of other drinks, you shouldn't be having any coffee or energy drinks after midday, and hopefully I won't need to state this too much, but you shouldn't be drinking alcohol. It has a depressant effect, so basically it's going to stop you being able to focus as effectively, and it's going to impair your cognition. Another healthy habit, exercise. Research shows that exercise impacts our brain performance directly by improving our memory and thinking, and also indirectly by keeping our stress down, our mood high, and our sleep good. So we should be aiming for 3 30-minute sessions of exercise a week at a moderate level, so that we find it hard to have a conversation if we're trying to do the exercise while talking to a friend. Now, we do exercise to keep our bodies fit, but what about our minds? How can we keep mentally fit during this year? One way to do this is to practice gratitude. So at the end of each day, have a sit down, either write in a journal or tell someone in your family 3 things that went really well today that you are grateful for. And of course, the deep breathing and the mindfulness that I mentioned before are also great ways of staying mentally fit. Okay, keep life as stable as possible. Try to have no breakups this year, no friendship fallouts, as much as you can be responsible for this, and pick and choose fights with your family. You know, decide, is it really worth it to go and start a fight right now? If it's going to make me feel crap and for the next 2 hours I'm not going to be able to concentrate, no, it's probably not worth it. And finally, keep work to a minimum. You should be doing no more than 10 to 15 hours of work a week. Now with COVID, this has probably slowed down naturally all by itself, but important to stick to. And during exam blocks, actually try to cancel all your shifts. You shouldn't be working during exam times. Okay, number 5 and final tip, study smarter, not harder. By using a few really simple strategies, you can actually boost your performance greatly this year. Number 1, study in short blocks of no more than 50 minutes at the most. A study has actually been conducted of 1,500 students. Now, half of them were asked to study twice a day for 3 hours, and the other half were asked to study in 2 50-minute blocks with a 15-minute break in between. Guess who did better in an exam that tested their study material? The group that did 2 50-minute blocks actually recalled 33% more than the group that studied for 6 hours in the day. So it really is about quality of study, not quantity of study. And it's good as well to study when you're at your best. So are you better at studying in the morning, or are you better at studying in the afternoon? You want to do the bulk of your study at your prime time. Regular study breaks are so important, and if you can get your work done and then have a break in the evening and take weekends off, or at least one day off in the weekend, that is ideal to keep you on an even kilter and performing at your best. You can also try rewarding yourself if you've worked well. Okay, have an efficient study area. This should be somewhere well lit, comfortable, with good ergonomics, and really clean and organised. Now, this should preferably not be your bed. You need a desk and a study space set up. And hopefully it's free from noises and distractions as well. Now, if you have noisy siblings, that's not always going to be able to happen, but try your best to get it as quiet as possible. Now, if we study in a consistent space, there's this thing called the time-place cue. So if we study at the same place, at the same time, our brain likes it because it knows it's time to study when it gets there. And people who do this actually recall around 30% more. Now there's a similar thing with smell. Memories are strongly associated with certain smells, and a smell can trigger a flood of memories. So there was an example of a boy who rubbed Vicks under his nose every time he studied maths, and when he was at school in his maths class he did the same, and he also did that when he did the HSC maths exam, and he actually got an ATAR of 99.9. So that might be something that works for you as well. Limit social media and screen time. Don't get stuck on Instagram and Facebook. They're a great time waster. You can try using an app called Self-Control for Apple Mac, or Cold Turkey or Stay Focused for PC, and it blocks certain apps at the times you have set to help you just get down and study. Screen time breaks are also so important. Your eyes can't be staring at a screen for as many hours as they probably are during this time of COVID-19, so just be really careful and intentional in having a break from the screens. Use memory strategies. Tools such as mind maps, flashcards, acronyms, pictures and flowcharts really help you to learn material and keep it in your head. Also do things like writing information to a tune or lyrics, handwrite rather than type your notes and paraphrase them in your own words, and use colours and headings. These are all really powerful tools. Stay organised. Things like a weekly schedule are a great way to organise your time effectively. And on this schedule you need to include not only study time, but time for exercise, breaks, your paid work and any other commitments. And put this somewhere visible in your room or in your study area. To-do lists for the day and systems for organising your study notes are also really effective. So maybe it's time to take a trip to Officeworks. Okay, and finally, use the syllabus. Each subject has a really detailed syllabus, which is the best guide for studying. You can make notes on each dot point within the syllabus, and your textbooks, worksheets and other school materials are really helpful for doing this. They don't always present the information as accurately as the syllabus does, so always refer back to that. Okay, so get yourself into a good mindset, get into the performance zone, stay connected to your learning community, and practice healthy habits while studying smarter, not harder. If you can do this now, you're sure to do your personal best and to blitz this year despite the disruption of COVID-19.